Hello students. In this session, we're going to have a question and answer discussion on the AIET test that was conducted on the 22nd July 2023. So let us start with our first question. So our question number 105. Which of the following possesses the ability to reproduce? And our options were mules and honey, worker honeybees, and then we have drone honeybees, and we have infertile human couples. So in this question, we have to choose which of the following possesses the ability to reproduce, right? So when it comes to mules and hinny, so what is a mule? Mule is nothing but it is a cross between male donkey, okay, male donkey, when it is crossed with a female horse, okay. A sterile organism is born, and that is nothing but mule. Whereas when it comes to hinny, hinny is nothing but it's vice versa. That is male horse, male horse, when it is crossed with female donkey, okay, female donkey. So that is called as a hinny. Okay, so both mules and hinny are non-fertile. Whereas when it comes to worker honeybees, so do you think that worker honeybees are fertile? Let's find out. Worker honeybees are nothing but females. Okay, so these females are sterile. Females are sterile. So these females do not produce any eggs or participate in the reproduction. So they are sterile and they don't reproduce as well. Whereas when it comes to drone honeybees are male, okay, and they are fertile and they reproduce, okay, they mate with the female and then they produce the offsprings. So here, the final option, that is infertile human couples. The statement itself says it is infertile, or the human couples who are non-fertile or who do not have the capacity to produce young ones. Okay, so they also do not reproduce. Okay, so here our right option is option C, that is drone honeybees. Okay, so let's go for the next question. So it's an interesting question. And 106, an isolated metabolic reaction or reactions outside the body of an organism, okay, performed in a test tube is, okay, your options are either living or non-living, neither living nor non-living, always living, always non-living. Okay, so the question is, if when metabolic reaction is conducted outside, isolated means which is away from the body or outside the body of an organism, they have given it is performed in a test tube, what kind it is, whether the system is living or non-living or both living and non-living or neither. Okay, so this is the options that we have. So what is metabolic reaction, students? Metabolic reaction is a sum total of chemical reactions that happen in an individual body. And whenever we talk about metabolism, only the living organisms have the capacity of metabolism. But we can try to perform some of these metabolic reactions such as enzymatic reactions. Maybe in your +2, you have an experiment for salivary amylase test, right? So salivary amylase is an enzyme, and then you use to digest the carbohydrates outside the living system, exactly at particular pH or particular temperature. Now, what happens? We do get the results similar to that of our body, but it is outside the body where the results are obtained. So, since we can exactly get the results outside the body, okay, in a test tube, so that is why for us, we cannot judge whether the system is living or whether the system is non-living. Okay, so if you look at the option A and option B, it gives either living or non-living. Either means either it has to be living or it has to be non-living. So that option is wrong. We cannot choose that. Okay. Whereas when it comes to B, neither living nor non-living, this is the right opt option for us. Why? Because we cannot judge whether the system is alive or whether the system is dead. Okay. But we are getting the metabolic results but it is not a living system. That is why we go for neither living nor non-living. Always living, not at all possible. Always non-living, it is not possible because we are still getting the results. So that is why our option B is correct for 106. So here we have another question. Which of the following does not easily multiply by fragmentation? So our option is fungi, filamentous algae, amoeba, and then we have protonema of mosses. Okay. So in this question, so they're asking which do not easily multiply. Sorry, let's go back. Which do not easily multiply by fragmentation. So when we see the following option, the fungi, example, your mushrooms, when the fragments of the mushrooms are sown, they have the capacity to give birth to new fungi. That means fungi is able to reproduce through fragmentation. Whereas filamentous algae, even the filaments of the algae, when it is cut into small fragments, each filament can grow into a new filament. Even this is also possible. Algae can also reproduce by fragmentation. Whereas coming to amoeba is a protozoan, correct? So when you talk about protista and when we talk about especially monera, we have unicellular organisms, and these unicellular organisms, their mode of reproduction is mere cell division. That means when the cells divide, they reproduce. As simple as that. So the division can take place in two ways: either binary fission, transverse binary fission, or you have longitudinal binary fission. Okay, so or you can also have multiple fission. Here you do not come across anything like fragmentation, right? So that is why in the following option, amoeba do not undergo fragmentation, it undergoes fission. Okay, so that is why our option C is correct. Whereas what is protonema of mosses? Protonema is nothing but a filamentous structure that is produced in mosses. So when this protonema is fragmented, even they give rise to a new moss. Okay, so that is why our option C is also, it undergoes fragmentation. Our right option is C, that is amoeba do not undergo fragmentation. Now coming to the next question, 114. Okay, our question is, which of the following sets of an organism can reproduce to produce fertile offsprings? Again, we discussed a similar type of question in the beginning itself. So let's see here. We have worker bees, blue whales, elephants, and then we have queen bee, Drosophila, and yeast, mules, sharks, and kangaroo, and we have sterile human couples, hinnies, and donkeys. So now you people exactly know the meanings of what are what. Worker bees are what? Sterile females, correct, right, people? We already know this. Whereas blue whales, they reproduce to give rise to young ones. Elephants, they reproduce to give rise to young ones. Whereas queen bee, she's fertile. Queen bee, she lays eggs and she's fertile. Drosophila have male Drosophila and female Drosophila. Even they reproduce, they lay eggs and they also give rise to young one. Yeast undergo budding and it also gives rise to young one. That means it has the capacity to reproduce. So all three of them have the capacity to reproduce. So our option B is right. Whereas when it comes to mule, what did I tell about mule? Mules are sterile, right? Because it is a cross between a female donkey and a male horse. Okay. Whereas sharks and kangaroo can reproduce. Whereas coming to sterile human couples, they cannot reproduce. Hinny, they're not having the capacity to reproduce. Why? Because again, they're a hybrid between a female horse and a male donkey. Okay. But donkeys have the capacity to reproduce. Okay, since some of them are missing in either of the options, so we will go for option B, which is the right option for 114. This is a very, very interesting question. You might have not come across. Let's see. So in trinomial nomenclature, okay, we have heard about binomial nomenclature by Carlos Linnaeus. So let's see what happens in trinomial nomenclature. So in trinomial, tri means three, nomenclature, our options are the third name in animals represents the strain. The third name in plants denote the variety. Whereas when the species and the subspecies are same, okay, these names are called as tautonyms. And then the third name in microorganisms denote the subspecies. So these are your options. Okay. So what is trinomial nomenclature and who proposed it? Lamarck. Okay, I will write it here. Lamarck. Lamarck, he proposed something called as trinomial nomenclature. So in trinomial nomenclature, what happens? We have genus, and then we have subspecies, and we have species. Okay, I'll write it here. So we have animals, and then we have plants, people. Correct? Which is very, very basic for us. In animals, what happens? First, we have genus, and then we have subspecies, and then we have species. Whereas in plants, we have genus, and then we have variety, and then we have species, right? So Carlos Linnaeus, he wanted subspecies for animals and variety for plants. So that is why in animals represents strain, you see, that does not make any sense. So whereas here you see, the third name in plants denotes variety, right? Correct, no people? So who proposed it? Lamarck proposed it, and he wanted the second name, that is, we have genus, variety, and species. So variety was for the plants. So option B is right. Okay. So let's go for the next question. Select the mismatched pair. So we have order Primata, that is gibbons, monkey, and gorilla. Order Carnivore, there we have tiger, cat, dog, and then we have order Polynalials. Okay, Polynales. We have Solanaceae, and then we have Liliaceae families. And then in option D, we have order Carnivora, which includes Felidae and Canidae families. So which is our right option when it comes to mismatched pair? So if you see order primates, okay, they include monkey-like organisms like gibbons, monkey, and gorilla, correct? Order carnivore, all carnivorous animals. Tiger is carnivore, cat is carnivore, dog is carnivore, correct? Whereas when it comes to polymonials, okay, okay, when it comes to polymonials, Solanaceae is right. Whereas when it comes to lilies, okay, you remember liliales belong to liliales. Liliaceae belongs to what? Liliales, not polymonials. Whereas one more example for polynomials is, okay, give me a second. Let me write it here. Okay, one more example for polynomials is we have convolvulus. Okay, so we have CONVO. Okay, LUACES, convolvulus. Okay, so what happens here? Solanaceae and convolvulus, these two families are based on the floral characteristics. Okay, the polynomials are the group which are classified based on the floral characteristics. Okay, that includes sonales and convolvulus. Okay, so that is why this option is wrong, people. Whereas order Carnivora includes Felidae and Canidae. That is, you have your cat family and your dog family. Okay, so they all belong to the Carnivora. So even option D is right. Whereas option C is wrong. That is why 120. Our option is option C. Fine. So we have the next question. The equivalent rank of carnivora in taxonomic category of man and housefly is respectively. Okay, the question should be here. Okay, the equivalent rank of carnivora in taxonomic categories of man and housefly is respectively. So our options are man, Homo, and Musca, and then we have Hominidae and Mucidae, and then we have Mammalia and Insecta, and then we have Primata and Diptera. So when it comes to carnivora, in the prior question, where did we find carnivora? Carnivora was found under order. Okay, order carnivora. That's what we said, correct? Whereas when it comes to man, man's order is what? Primata. Okay, man's order is what? Primata. Whereas housefly's order is what? Diptera. So our option is what? Option D. So carnivora is an order and the equivalent rank for man and housefly is man's order is primata, whereas housefly's order is what? Diptera. Understood, students? Okay. Our option D is the right one for question number 129. So let's go for the next question. So it's a very interesting question. Which of the following suffix is used for the category order? Okay, for order, what are the suffixes that are easy for us to remember? Okay, what suffix is used first of all? So let's see. If you see phyta, okay, phyta is used for pteridophyta, bryophyta. It is used for what? Division. Okay, it is used for what? Division. Whereas you have physi, pheophysi, okay, rhodophysi, chlorophysi. You remember this? This was used for class. So where did we study this? In algae, right? Whereas when it comes to AC, Solonase, okay, we just studied a while back. Liliales. So this is nothing but family. Whereas order is ales. Okay, remember this. Order is ales. Ales is a suffix that is used for the order in plant kingdom. Understood? So our option is option C for 130. Question number 130. So here we have the next question. Which of the following is not included under in situ conservation? So this is quite easy, but you might be confused with the term with in situ and ex situ. But let's see the options here. We have the options: national park, botanical garden, sanctuary, and biosphere reserve. Right? What is in situ conservation? In situ is on site. On-site conservation. On-site means we cannot isolate the entire organisms out of the place and put it into something like zoos, okay, something like botanical gardens. That is off-site. If I take some of the plants from Kodaikanal and then I put it in Bangalore botanical garden, okay, that means I'm doing what? Off-site. If I'm only going to Bandipur National Forest and then the national park and then I'm protecting the tigers and black bucks, that means what? That is on site in that particular place. So we have two examples, so easy to remember, right? So that is why national park, what we have Bandipur National Park, what are we doing? On site national, on site conservation. So this is in situ. Whereas botanical garden, people, what are we doing in botanical garden? We collect the exotic species of plants from different location and we provide exact environments and then we try to improve their species number and we also study them off site, okay, out of their nativity. So this is called as botanical gardens. So botanical garden is what? It is an ex situ conservation or it is also called as off-site conservation, correct, people? Whereas sanctuary and biosphere reserve, even those are on-site conservation projects. Okay, so our option is option B. Let's go for next one. Who wrote Species Plantarum and provided a basis for classification of plants? And our options are Carolus Linnaeus, we have Charles Darwin, Robert Hooke, and Leeuwenhoek. Okay, so we have the options. So what is the correct answer for this? Species Plantarum is the first attempt, okay, that was done by Carolus Linnaeus. Okay, so in 1753, if I'm, oh, okay, give me a second. He did this in 1753, and then he penned this wonderful book called as Species Plantarum, where Carolus Linnaeus, what he did was, he tried to nomenclate all the discovered plant based on his idea of binomial nomenclature, which is widely accepted today. Okay, so that became a basis of classifying plants, and it also became a basis of naming the plants based on binomial nomenclature. So our option is Carolus Linnaeus, which is option A, students. Let's go next question. Which of the following, sorry, when the specific epithet exactly represents generic name, it is called. Okay, our options are basoname, synonym, homonym, tautonym. Okay, here are the examples for us. So what is the right option? See, the question is the specific epithet and the genus or generic name should be the same. So can you guess a word where we have specific name as well as a generic name the same? Let me give you an example. One is Naga, Naja Naja, correct? Naja Naja is a scientific name for cobras. Naja Naja. Can you see that we have generic name as well as specific name same? Correct. So what is this called? When two of them are called as what? Is it called as basonym? So we have to understand the meaning of this. What is basonym? So basonym is when you have an old term. Okay, let's say that we already have one term, the old term. So now out of old term, we derive a new term. Okay, already there was one term given to it. From there, we derive a new term, but the new term will be completely based on old term only. Okay, almost similar. The wordings will be same. The pronunciation will also be the same, but the old word is little bit modified into new word. This is called as base only. It is based on a single word. Okay, whereas synonyms, we are very much aware of synonyms because we study English literature very well. What is synonym? Synonym is nothing but when you have a same word, okay, two different words having the same meaning. Okay, when you have two different words describing the same object or same expression, that is called as synonym. Okay, what is homonym? Homonym means, let us say we have plant A and we have plant B, or animal A or animal B. When both A and B have the same name, either generic or specific name, this is called as what? Homonym. Okay. So if they have same name, okay, same name, it is called as what? Homonym. Okay. Then we have tautonym. What is tautonym? Tautonym is this one, Naja Naja. Okay, is an example where you have both generic and specific epithet. Okay, coming with the same words, repetition of words. It is called as what? Tautonym. So our option is what, students? It is option D for the question 142. So we have the next question here. The common characteristics between brinjal and wheat can be observed maximum at their at the level of their. Okay, our options are division, phylum, kingdom. Both B and C are the options. So what they're asking, the brinjal and wheat, the common characteristics can be observed at what level? So when we go from kingdom, division, okay, then we have class, order, genus, family, species. As we go down the phylogenetic order, now what happens? The common characteristics actually reduce. Okay, when you come to species, very closely related characteristics. When you go to genus, you have a relatively common characteristics between two, three, or four different types, varieties. Whereas when you go above, so now what will happen? The commonality between these organisms keep on increasing. Okay. Apart when we look at the given options, we have division, which is used for plants, exceptional. So this is the word that we can go up to. Phylum is used for animals. So our option B gets completely rejected. Whereas when it comes to kingdom, how can you relate brinjal and a cat? Do we have a common character there? No, we come across non-common characteristics. It's a completely different, huge branch. So we do not involve kingdom. For example, monera and brinjal, or a bacteria and a brinjal. So we cannot include these two in a same page. So that is why we don't take kingdom. Both B and C, not at all possible. So what do we have? We have division. Division is where you can find maximum amount of common characteristics in plants. Okay, so that is why option A is correct for question number 144. So let's go for the next question. Which of the following is most important for speciation? And our options are seasonal isolation, behavioral isolation, reproductive isolation, and then we have temporal isolation. Okay. So for the question 149, what are they asking? They're asking about speciation. That means for an organisms to produce different varieties of species, okay, or new variants of species, what is essential? So seasonal isolation can lead to adaptation, not speciation. Behavioral isolation. Again, behavioral isolation can lead to adaptations and it can lead to small evolutionary changes. It's not completely resulting in speciation. when it comes to reproductive isolation, when organisms are completely isolated from a geographical area and they are isolated from their own species, now they try to mate with the closely related species. Okay, now when they're mate with a closely related species, here there is a very high chances of occurrence of new characteristics, new genes in the coming generations, which leads to speciation or formation of new individuals with new characteristics. Okay, so reproductive isolation is one of the key characteristics or key components for the new species to be originated in our biosphere. So that is why whenever we talk about speciation, reproductive isolation comes to a major picture apart from mutations. Okay, so that is why we talk about option C. So 149, our correct option is option C, people. So we have the next question. Select the false statement. Careless linears describe plants and classified them on the basis of their sexual parts. Here is your first question. First option. Second one, some facts established by accurate and repeated observation do not require further verification. Study of vestigial organs is called as theology. Okay, teleology. And then we have the final option, white revolution resulted in enhanced production of milk. So let's go one by one. We have to find the false statement. Okay. So careless Linnaeus described plants and classified them based on their sexual parts. Definitely right. Okay, he used that tool, one of the major tools to do that. Whereas some facts established by accurate, okay, they're mentioning very accurate, okay, accurate and repeated observation. The repeated observations have been done, the accuracy is established, do not require further verification. It's been already verified several times and it does not require once it is validated data. So once the data is validated and it is stored, we don't go for further verification until and unless a new technology pops up that can disprove things. So our option B is also right. Study of vestigial organs is called as teleology. Actually, it is not called as teleology. What is teleology? Teleology is a way of describing, okay, let's say unscientific explanation. If you give it anything, for example, you have a you have a theory for UFOs or aliens, it is called as teleology, where you don't have any scientific evidences for that, and this unscientific explanation is called as what? Teleology. Whereas what is this study of vestigial organs called as? It is called as, let me write it here, DYSTE, okay, LEOLOGY, teleology. Okay, this teleology is the study of vestigial organs. Okay, so option C is wrong, and this is the correct option for question number 150. Whereas white revolution is nothing but enhanced production of milk, where we get self-sufficient in the milk production is called as white revolution. Okay, so let's go for next question. Who has suggested six kingdom classification? So it was one of the landmarks in the classification system. So we have Karl Orff, Julian Huxley, and then we have Ernst Haeckel, and then we have R.H. Whitaker. So these are our options. So what was six kingdom classification, students? So Karl Orff, what he felt was, it is not right to put archaea, that is archaebacteria and eubacteria under the same plane. Why? Because archaebacteria had very unique characteristics compared to that of eubacteria. They could survive in extreme conditions, okay? And they had a different types of 16 RNA sequence that you will understand in further classes, okay? So that's why he created like a kingdom archaea, kingdom eubacteria, and then kingdom protista, kingdom fungi, kingdom plantae, kingdom animalia, which established a six kingdom classification system. So that is why we credit six kingdom classification to Karl Orff for his visionary approach in in completely separating archaebacteria from true bacteria. Okay, so fine. You have the next question. Domain eukarya includes how many kingdoms? Okay, so we have 2, 3, 1, 4, which are our options. Okay, so according to six kingdom classification, they are asking. So in this question, we have to observe that eukaryote, it's such a simple question. So what are eukaryotes? Something which have membrane bound organelles. When you go back to our basics, we had 5 kingdom classification: Monera, Protista, Plantae, fungi, Plantae, Animalia, right, people? So among this, how many were eukaryotes? Protista, fungi, Plantae, Animalia, all of them were eukaryotes. Chalo, let's go for 6 kingdom classification. In 6 kingdom classification, what did we get? Monera was divided into two. One is Archaea, other one is Eubacteria. Archaea is also a protista, and then Archaea is also a protozoan. Archaea is also not an eukaryote; it's a prokaryote. Whereas Eubacteria is also a prokaryote. Then we have our 4 kingdom, that is Protista, fungi, Plantae, and Animalia. All these 4 belong to eukaryotes because they have true membrane bond organelles. Even though Protista is unicellular, they have membrane bond organelles. So that is why our option is 4 when it comes to 161. So let's go for the next question. 6 kingdom classification is based on the sequence of. So this is very, very important. Our options are transfer RNA genes, ribosomal RNA genes, messenger RNA genes, and then we have nitrogenous bases in DNA, okay, or nitrogenous based in DNA. So according to 6 kingdom classification, again, Archaea, Eubacteria, then we have Protista, fungi, Plantae, Animalia. Now, when our Carl was trying to work on this, what he discovered was there is a significant difference. Okay, there is a significant change or a significant base in which we can establish the 6 kingdom classification. That was based on ribosomal RNA genes or ribosomal RNA sequence, which we call it as 16S RNA sequence. Okay, so what is the 16S RNA sequence? So now, when you trace back our evolutionary relationship, the 16S RNA was one thing that established all of us were evolved from the same ancestry, like whether it is prokaryotes, whether it is eukaryotes, whether it is Monera, Archaea, or even your Protista, fungi, Plantae, or Animalia, all of us were showing the same basis of the 16S RNA sequence. Okay, so that is why our 6 kingdom classification was majorly based on this aspect where Carlos used our ribosomal RNA genes. Okay, so that is why our correct option is option B. So here we go, our 160th question. Which of the following was given the status of kingdom in the classification system by Copeland? Okay, so our options are Myxomycetes, eukaryotic algae, prokaryotes, and then we have Protista. Okay, so let's come to the answer. Copeland was responsible for giving rise to 4 kingdom classification. So he's the first guy to propose 4 kingdom, okay, 4 kingdom classification system. According to him, we had Monera, Protista, and then we had Plantae and Animalia. There was no fungi back then. Okay, so Copeland understood that the unicellular organisms, especially our bacterial friends, they are not same as our Protestant friends. So he understood the significant difference in their cells. That is why he divided all these prokaryotes into one kingdom called as Monera. So use these prokaryotes and he introduced something called as Monera. All right, people. So he introduced Monera. So when he put Monera, he made one more mistake. You know what was the mistake? Including the blue-green algae, the blue-green algae, and also the simple unicellular algae were put into the same prokaryotes because it could not differentiate between these two organisms. Even unicellular algae was placed under prokaryotes. So that was some of the mistakes that he made. So Copeland's contribution was in introducing Monera, where he includes prokaryotes, which are unicellular organisms, right, which includes bacteria. So we have next question. The sex organs are absent, but plasmogamy is brought about by the fusion of two vegetative or somatic cells of different genotypes. It is a feature of. Okay, so one of the important thing that we have to see is different genotypes. So we have Phycomycetes, we have basidomycetes, we have ascomycetes, and all of this. So when it comes to phycomycetes and ascomycetes, which is sac fungi, so now what happens in these two is the same strain of the hyphae. That means if you have hyphae, okay, mycelia, hyphae, remember this, okay? So when you see these two hyphae, the same hyphae belonging to the same fungi, let us say they are both called as plus. That means they're of same strain. So they fuse to give rise to what are the structures that follows. Whereas when it comes to basidomycetes, let us say we have one fungi here, okay, one mushroom, and we have another mushroom here, and they have mycelia, and these mycelia, let me call this one mycelia as plus mycelia, other one as minus mycelia. So that is why we call it as plus strain and minus strain, or two different strains. So they come close together and then they perform this fusion. Okay, so this fusion is possibly seen in basidomycetes people when two different strains comes and fuse. Okay, so that is why our option is basidomycetes, not phyco or ascomycetes. Okay, so which of the following is absent in bacteria? Very important question. It was asked in NEET for several years. Okay, so many times this question has been repeated. So that's why we keep on repeating so that we remember as much as possible. Our options are RNA, cell wall, mesosomes, and mitochondria. So our option for this question is which of the following is absent? Bacteria belongs to what? It belongs to kingdom Monera, and it is a prokaryote. They lack membrane bond organelles. Mitochondria is a double membrane bond organelle, so it should not be present in monerans, right? So mitochondria is absent in bacteria. Instead of mitochondria, these bacteria, they have cell wall, okay, and they have plasma membrane. This is plasma membrane people, okay, for now. And then they have this inner folding of the plasma membrane, and these infoldings of the plasma membrane are nothing but mesosomes, which are responsible for playing the role as equivalent as your mitochondria. Okay, so let's go for the next question. Select the correct statement. Viroids have double-stranded RNA. Next option. RNA of viroids have higher molecular weight compared to that of viruses. Mumps and herpes are viral diseases. The name virus was given by D.J. Iwansky. So what is our right option here? First option. Viroids have double-stranded RNA. Nope. Viroids do not have double-stranded RNA. They have single-stranded RNA, okay, circular RNA. So that is what viroids genetic material is about. Next one, RNA of viroids have higher molecular weight than viruses. No way. Why? Because viroids are very, very small compared to that of the size of the virus. So their molecular weight also have to be very less compared to that of our viruses. So even this is wrong. Coming to the third option, mumps and herpes are viral diseases. So this is absolutely right. Mumps is caused by mumps virus, whereas herpes is caused by herpes simplex virus. Okay, so both of them are viral diseases. Coming to the final option, why this one is wrong? The name virus was given by D.J. Iwansky. Okay, even though the contribution of discovery of the virus goes to D.J. Iwansky, the term virus was coined by Bejonik. Bejonik coined the word called as virus, and Iwansky was the one who discovered it in tobacco plants. Okay, so that is why our option is which one, students? Option C is right for our 167th question. So we have the next question. Mark the odd one with respect to the cell wall. So we have our options: halophiles, methanogens, thermoacidophiles, and we have cyanobacteria. So our question says odd one. That means not the ones which do not match with respect to the cell wall. Come to halophiles, methanogens, and thermoacidophiles. All of them are archaebacteria. If you see the cell wall composition of this archaebacteria, it is made up of something called as pseudomurin. Okay, pseudomurin, or it is also called as pseudo, pseudomurine is one of the words that is termed for the cell wall composition that is present in our archaebacteria. Whereas coming to the cyanobacteria has what? It contains murin, not pseudomurine. It is made up of murin. So that is why our cyanobacteria is odd one compared to that of all of your archaebacteria. So our option D is correct. Come to the 168 question. Membrane bond organelles are absent in which of the following organisms? Plasmodium, Saccharomyces, Streptococcus, and then we have Chlamydomonas. Very easy question, students. So coming to membrane bond organelles, simple. We have to just choose the prokaryote out of eukaryotes. So coming to the Plasmodium, it's an eukaryote. Coming to Saccharomyces, yeast, that is an eukaryote. Whereas Streptococcus, Coccus, Bacillus, Spirillum, okay, Vibrio, all of them are monorels, which are, bacteria which are classified based on shapes. One such clue that we can pick up. Monorels do not have membrane bond organelles because they are prokaryotes. So that is why our option C is right when it comes to this. Chlamydomonas, okay, odd one out. Pick an odd one out. We know that Coccus is bacteria and they do not have membrane bond organelles. So we'll go for Coccus. Okay, Chlamydomonas is also an eukaryote. So that is why even Chlamydomonas have membrane bond organelles. Okay, which of the following does not evolve oxygen? So our options are chemosynthetic bacteria, blue-green algae, autotrophic plants. Okay, so when it comes to evolution of oxygen, when we talk about the photosynthesis process in plants, it happens at chloroplast, correct? Or chlorophyll pigments. So basically, when our plants use this or any of these organisms use light for breaking down when they use light for photosynthesis, one of the important process why they use light is we have we have something called as photosystem 2. So in photosystem 2 is a collection of these pigments where what happens in photosystem is they use this light energy, okay, to break down a water molecule which evolves oxygen. So here when it comes to chemosynthetic bacteria, they lack photosystem. They do not have photosystem 2. When they do not have photosystem 2, they cannot evolve oxygen. So it's a simple explanation. Some of the pigments they have is bacteriorhodophyll, okay, or bacteriochlorophyll. So their photo harvesting system is around 880, okay, which do not involve in evolution of our oxygen. Whereas coming to blue-green algae, blue-green algae, green algae, or autotrophic plant, they all have photosystem too, okay, and they break down water to evolve oxygen and hydrogen is used for the electron transport. Oxygen is evolved as the byproduct. So that is why our option A is which of the following does not evolve oxygen? That is chemosynthetic bacteria. That is the right option. Option A is right for 174. So we have our next question. The smallest living cells have all known characteristics except, okay, survive in absence of oxygen, infect animals and plants, complete lack of cell membrane. Then we have contained double-stranded DNA as genetic material. Okay, what is our smallest living cell? Okay, so the smallest living cell, what we refer to, they can survive in absence of oxygen. They can infect plants and animals, but they have cell membrane. They do not have cell wall. Okay, you have to observe your options. Whereas they contain double-stranded genetic material. Yes, they do contain double-stranded genetic material. What is an organism? Mycoplasma. Mycoplasma is the smallest living organism known. Okay, PPLO, that is pleuropneumonia-like organism, which was discovered. This particular organism, they survive without oxygen. They can infect both plants and animals. They're very stubborn. They do not have cell wall. They have cell membrane, and their genetic material is double-stranded DNA. Sure. Let's go for next question. Which of the following statements is true about cyanobacteria? It is found in fresh water only. It may be unicellular, colonial, or filamentous. Okay. They often form bloom in non-polluted freshwater bodies. Colonies are not surrounded by gelatinous sheet. Which of the following statements is true about cyanobacteria? Okay, see people. So they're asking, it is found in freshwater only, which is wrong. They are found in freshwater as well as polluted water. Okay, it may be unicellular, filamentous, or it may be unicellular, colonial, or filamentous. Yes, they are existing in filamentous as well as colonial as well as unicellular forms. Whereas they form bloom in non-polluted freshwater. They form bloom in freshwater. Polluted water only in certain circumstances, not in all the circumstances. Okay, this option is also. Colonies are not surrounded by gelatinous sheet. Colonies are protected by gelatinous sheet. So this is also wrong. So our option B is correct. It can be unicellular, it can be colonial, and it can be filamentous. Next question. Okay, red tides in the sea appear red. It is because of rapid multiplication of. Our options are Gannilox, slime mold, euglena, and golden algae. Okay, students. So here we have studied about our dinoflagellates. And in dinoflagellates, we come across this organism called as Gannilox. So Gannilox, what happens? They have an exceptional rate of division. They asexually reproduce to produce billions of these organisms within a very short period of time. So they produce in such volumes that the entire sea can look orange, pink, green, as well as red, depending upon the type of pigment they bear. A special type of, our Gannilox, which produces the red tide, they produce these toxins which can kill this local marine life like turtles, jellyfishes, fishes, etc. So that is why they're called as red tides, based on color as well as their toxicity. So our organism is Gannilox. So that is why our option A is correct for this question. So our next question, which one is correctly matched? Agaricus, smut, Deuteromycetes, imperfect fungi, okay, Istilago, mushroom, and then you have Puccinia, insectivorous. Correctly matched. Before we have that, we should understand why it is wrongly matched with other options. Agaricus, example is mushrooms. Here it goes. Okay, mushrooms. Whereas Istilago is another example is smut. Deuteromycetes is imperfect fungi. Perfect. Why? Because you cannot exactly define their sexual and asexual cycles. Whereas Puccinia is not called as insectivorous, it is also called as rust fungi. Okay, it is also called as what? Rust fungi. So that is why our Deuteromycetes, option B is correct. Agaricus example, mushrooms. Okay, another word is mushrooms. Ustilago, another word is smut fungi. Deuteromycetes is called as imperfect fungi. Puccinia is called as rust fungi. So they have names and common names. All right. So next question. With respect to the fungal sexual cycle, choose the correct sequence of events. So we have karyogamy, plasmogamy, meiosis, meiosis, plasmogamy, and karyogamy, meiosis, karyogamy, plasmogamy, plasmogamy, karyogamy, and meiosis. Chalo, let's break this down. What happens in the sexual cycle in fungi? First, the two mycelia, okay, belonging to two different fungi. Okay, let's say this is one tiny mushroom and this is another one tiny mushrooms, two different mushrooms we have, which is a fungi. Now they have mycelia. Among that, this mycelia and this mycelia comes together. When this mycelia and this mycelia comes together, first what happens? Their cell walls will dissolve, leading to what, people? Leading to the fusion of their protoplasm. So that is why it is called as plasmogamy. First, the fusion of their cytoplasm happens. That is why it is called as plasmogamy. That leads to with two nucleus, which is called as dikaryon. This stage is called as what? Dikaryon, right? So now what happens? After this, karyogamy. So that means fusion of this haploid nuclei will take place, leading to the diploid nuclei. So this is called as what? Karyo. Karyo means nucleus, gamy means fusion. Okay, so karyogamy is done. Next, what happens? This diploid cannot stay like this. This will convert it into sporangia, and then the nucleus will start dividing by reductional divisions called as meiosis, okay, which produces haploid spores. Okay, it produces what? Haploid spores. So the correct sequence of events is what? Plasmogamy, karyogamy, and meiosis. So this is the right option. Next one. Which is correct with respect to kingdom fungi? They reproduce asexually and sexually. They show great diversity in structure and habitat. Sorry. Most of the fungi are saprophytic in their mode of nutrition. They do not reproduce by zoospores. Okay, we have to find which is incorrect with respect to kingdom fungi. They reproduce asexual and sexually. Perfect. They show great diversity in structure and habitat. That is also true. You can say varieties of fungi. It's one of the most diverse kingdoms. Okay, most of the fungi are saprophytic mode of nutrition. Yes, correct. Now coming to, they do not reproduce by zoospores. When it comes to your asexual reproduction, people, so they do reproduce by zoospores. So that is why our option D is incorrect with respect to kingdom fungi. All right, students, here we come to the end of question paper discussion, okay, based on your AIET test. Now, if you have any doubts or if you have any questions that you have problem with, please ask your teachers to help you with. Your teachers will get back to us and we can produce a video solution based on that. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the next session.